Hey, everybody. You remember when you were a kid or at any time, really, when you go to your local diner for breakfast? And if you go there often enough, you see, those same old guys sitting in the corner. And I remember when I was a kid, I used to kind of snicker at them. But I want to tell you, they got it right. All right. Hey, welcome again, scar tissue fans. Welcome to the first iteration of what I'm going to call a flashbang. Flashbangs are going to be a little bit different. We're not going to have a guest on. It's just going to be you and me. And I'm going to talk to you about items that I'm passionate about. Okay. And today we're going to talk about the power of connection. This year's been really reinforcing the need and criticality, at least to me, about maintaining those connections throughout your life. I remember when I was when I retired from the Navy and I had my retirement speech, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to talk about. And I got some great advice from some great mentors. And one of the things was, hey, just give your top 10 life lessons learned, which really kind of in a profound way inspired me to go with what we go by within scar tissue is, if you really want to know the road, inquire those who have traveled it, our Japanese proverb. And so life lessons to me are invaluable. And so, Moleskin, you guys, if you've been around, seen me long enough, one of my coworkers calls it the Black Book of Death. I don't know why. There's good stuff in here. I had my life lessons that I wrote down from my retirement speech. And I think over the next few iterations of these flashbangs, I'm going to go over, one of these each time. And, I'll give you an example. The first one in there was read the Declaration of Independence and the Federalist Papers. You got to know, what you're fighting for. What we're going to talk about today, though, is number 8, and that is nurture your relationships. And what I mean by that is going to the power of connection. I say that as a self-described introvert and a longtime loner. I'm born and raised in rural, and I mean rural Arizona, both the deserts in the Southwest and also the mountains of Arizona. And so growing up, I never really put a lot of criteria or a lot of just any time into really maintaining friendships. I had a lot of great friends, but it really wasn't a focus of mine until, as I'm getting out of the Navy, you lose your support system. You really got to, it reinforced the need for me to take a relook at that. And so this year has been really powerful. And I want to kind of go over 3 things that happened to me this year. Hopefully resonate with you and hopefully inspire you to get back to your connections as well. First one, I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's been 35 years since I graduated U.S. Naval Academy. 35 years. And what my company, 33rd Company, has been doing over the last couple of years, Tony, a good friend of mine, Tony, he got us into a Zoom call every month for the last year or so, especially ever after COVID. And it's been invaluable catching up with my company mates, guys I hadn't seen in 30 plus years. And now we make that connection and have that virtual coffee shop experience that those old guys had, and just supporting each other. Getting back to my reunion this year, it was probably the most powerful one I've seen because it's the first time I went to. They have a chapel ceremony. We've had 2 people within my company, and a third that was a really good friend of mine pass away of various things, either training accidents, cancer, other illnesses. But, one thing that philosophically I've getting a really deep dive into Stoicism, and, Marcus Aurelius talks about contemplate death. And I mean that in a good way. It's one of those things we have a finite time on this planet. And this is the first time I finally, I guess, faced my own fears and went into the chapel ceremony. And it's something with everybody else as well. I mean, one of our classmates, he was a chaplain given the service. And he stood up in front of everybody. If you've ever been to the Naval Academy Chapel, it's huge. You can hold 4,000 people. And he stood up, and you can see the kind of the pleasure, but shock of pleasure in his face. He goes, I wish you guys could see this. And we all kind of look back, and the whole thing was filled. It would our whole class, about 1,000 people, and their spouses included, were in there filling it to pay the respect to our classmates who have given that final sacrifice. And so that service, those Zoom calls, just reconnecting with people that you don't normally connect with on a daily basis, just reignited, in my mind and in my heart, the power and the passion that you need to have those connections and to make life kind of worthwhile, right? This is kind of in a trifecta for things. So that was the first reunion. The second reunion, I'm gonna get a little bit on my soapbox here, but the second reunion was for my second tour in Afghanistan. The unit that I was in charge of, let's just say the withdrawal from Afghanistan did not go over well with us. I know a lot of people that were involved in that, and at some point, this country, I don't want to see it go the way the Vietnam debacle went, and that's kind of where it's going right now. So again, I'm going to get a little bit kind of on my soapbox here for a second, so forgive me. But the reason we had this reunion is because all of us that were involved in Afghanistan, I had 2 years of my life there. And we all, when the withdrawal happened, I thought I was going to handle it better internally than I did, but we didn't. And that's what inspired us to do the reunion. But getting back right quick to accountability, at some point, this country has got to hold those responsible accountable for the debacle that happened. And so keep the pressure on. Shout out goes to all those groups that got people out. I'm going to talk about one of them here in a minute, but we got to hold some people accountable. So for what it's worth, okay, getting back to my reunion, we got a friend, the guy that relieved me when I transferred out. I got a call from him, again, connections, right? And he goes, "Wes, we're looking at doing a reunion for the unit." And I was like, "Well, where are you going to do it?" He's like, "We think in Mayport Naval Station." I hadn't been there since I was an incoming sophomore at the Naval Academy. Those our summer cruise were down in Mayport, and it's about 4 hours drive from where I live right now. And so I said, "Sure." Of the various iterations of that unit that we had about probably 50 total U.S. people involved, and about 20 showed up, which is really cool. And what really made it the cherry on top of the cake was our interpreter. I don't want to say his name because I don't know who's chasing him still, but let's just say I trust that guy with my life more than just about anyone else on this planet. He did some amazing stuff for us. And fortunately, we got him out long before the debacle happened with the withdrawal. So he is now a U.S. citizen. And for him to come back and reconnect with us was invaluable. And so now I got his email, I got his phone number, and so we're going to talk on a regular basis. But again, the healing that went on, just to vent your frustration, but also just express your love for your brothers that worked there. I tell you what, the connections we had and the love we displayed down there was just tremendous. And you can't ignore that. All right. Last but not least, the last thing that happened, again, this has been a great trifecta to really reinforce the value of connections. A lot of you may know, some of you may not know, but I'm a co-founder for the Standup Veterans Foundation nonprofit. Our core mission is to introduce the power of the ocean and the joy of learning to surf on a stand-up paddleboard. We do it in a great place called Punta de Mita, Mexico. It's about 40 minutes north of Puerto Vallarta. And while the power of the ocean and surfing are the core tenets of it, we also we include bowl meditation therapy. We include hydrotherapy, massage. We conduct other just thought discussions. We have mobility and flexibility so that old guys like me don't break too much when we go out and go surfing. It's about 6 hours a day of surfing. We have world champions that are incredible instructors, and we've had five iterations now of the retreat, and we just held one this last November. So reconnecting down there with the vets this time, we're getting a whole lot of frogmen, so that's been really cool seeing my SEAL brothers come down with us. But I want to specify two things other than my SEAL brothers on this. One was a coworker of mine, former Marine Corps Sergeant Major, and we as a company, CAVU, have expressed support for SUP veterans. And so we sponsored one of our guys, one of our own, to go down there to be a participant. Now, Brett is a former Marine Corps Sergeant Major, like I said. He's also never served. And as he would put it, or I described him as, all of us none of us are antiques yet, but we're definitely vintage. And Brett's like, yeah, I'm a little bit out of shape. Wes, I'm not sure I can go down there and do what you need to do. And I'm like, Brett, relax. It's not about the surfing. It is about the ocean, but it's more about the camaraderie, the connection, and being physically exhausted also lets you, let down your hair a little bit, breaks down the walls, and you start sharing your experiences with people who've done the same thing. And I cannot express enough how valuable, again, just the sheer love that you start having for your brothers and sisters, and just reconnecting with life. Another part of that thing that we do down there is we have a paddle out. When we do the paddle out in surf culture, it's basically to express a celebration of life for those who have passed. In this iteration, we all decided to have our own. We're going to express our love for someone personal to us. For me, I chose my dad and I chose my sister. The reason I chose my dad, in November, that was the 16th anniversary of his passing. He was 73 when he passed, way too young, but cancer is cancer and it does what it does. But I hadn't had a chance in a long time just to say hi and love you, Dad, and just express my joy for that. Just as importantly, maybe more importantly for my healing, though, was my sister. She struggled with, probably the smartest person I've ever known, but she struggled with addiction throughout her life. And when she left this life, I never had a chance to say goodbye to her. Kind of setting the scene a little bit, we get on the beach way early in the morning, so it's pitch black dark. And just to kind of emphasize the power of the ocean, I was in tears. I was bawling my eyes out. I hadn't really thought about my sister in a long time. And paddling out in the dark, people are trying, we're trying to keep everybody together. We're in the ocean, waves are coming in, and you forget that people like Brett, like I mentioned before, had never been on a surfboard before, and you can't see the waves coming in, and you got to get people up and over. And looking back on it, it's kind of funny, but it is you forget about people who are not in the ocean that much. But we get out to where we needed to be, and I mean, I was in tears throughout. But what that allowed me to do was forgive my sister, right? And forgiveness, for me, was just another way to connect. And it was the best thing I could have ever done. And so keep that in mind when you're trying to go through life and make it happen. And the power of forgiveness, man, I tell you what, it's something else. So that was the SUP veterans. Now, kind of rounding this out and coming to an end here. I want to talk about. I don't know how many of you have ever heard of Inky Johnson. In the business I'm in with human performance and motivational speaking and public speaking, he's one of the best out there, in my opinion. If you don't know him, Inky Johnson was a former college player at the University of Tennessee. He had a career-ending hit in 2006. What he did, though, was he's amazing, but he focused on motivational speaking. And if you ever do yourself a favor, just Google it and take a look at one of his videos. If you ever think you're having a bad day, Inky Johnson's going to get you out of that, right? But one of the things that he talked about, and one of the most profound things I thought he ever said was, if it's all about you and you go through life thinking it's all about you, at some point you're going to meet something or someone that's tougher than you. you're going to meet someone or something that's tougher than you. And unless you have, in my opinion, unless you have that tribe or the bigger, he was about the bigger picture, about the process. And I include your tribe, your circle of friends as part of that. That's your support group. Those are the people that are going to get you through those tough times and you think you can't go any further. And so remember that. That's the whole value of these connections, is to make sure that when you do meet that something or someone that's going to kick your ass, you kick its ass. And it's because what we say down there with the SCP veterans, it's not about, not just about living for today. That's cool and all, but you got to look for a reason to live tomorrow. And that's what your friends do. So going forward, what do I suggest? I suggest finding your tribe, finding your circle of friends that are going to be there for you. For me, one, it's my family. Okay. Two, it's going to be my SCP Vets tribe. Three, it's going to be my SEAL brothers. 4, 5, and 6, you got coworkers, you got friends that are across the globe. The one thing that Wesley's got to work on, though, is that local breakfast group. Okay, and that to me was, again, when I see him, I'm kind of jealous. I climbed Mount Whitney when I was 52. It was really cool. It was one of those last minute kind of things. I got a permit, was able to go, and it was just me. I just had time off and went in and went up for a couple of days and hit the trail. If you don't know where Mount Whitney, it's the highest peak in the lower 48, about 14,500 feet, and just a fun climb. Well, I got to the top of that mountain, and there's a little a Forest Service shack up there in case for the guys that maintain the trail. They can get out of the weather that way. Anyway, so you go in there and you can sign the book that you summited in Mount Whitney. And when I went inside, there was this group of about 9 people. They were youngest was 69, the oldest was 82. Of that group, 6 of them were female, and they had been on the John Muir Trail, which is going from Yosemite all the way down to the Mount Whitney Portal there where I was at. It takes about 2 weeks to do. They had been on the trail for 18 days. So think about that. You have a 69-year-old to an 82-year-old person on the high route. The John Muir Trail, I think, is pretty much over 10,000 feet for most of it, of the 250 plus miles of it. And they've been on that trail for 18 days. And on the end of the trail, they decided to climb the highest peak in the lower 48 just to end the day. And I looked at them, I'm going, that is the tribe I want to have. That's my breakfast group. Okay. And so you all need to find that. At least that's my recommendation. That's what Wes is going to do. And yeah, got to get it done. Well, that's all we got for today, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. Drop some comments in the box down there. Let me know what you think, because I got a lot of like the whole scar tissue philosophy. I got a lot of it, and I'm hoping to share with you some of these things. One, to get to know me better and have my viewpoint, but also just to help y'all out. That's what it's all about. We can share the knowledge. We can come together as a tribe, and we can get each other through. And not only it's all about not surviving life. It's really about thriving. So let's help each other thrive. All right. That's all I got for you. Take care, and we'll see you on the next iteration of Scar Tissue and Flashbangs. Have a great day.